Hey, how's it going? And welcome to another edition of Primetime Sportz Talk, where we give you the analysis and our perspective on the basketball team here at Georgia State. I'm Jared Oliver, and with my partner Nithin Nair, IUPUI, also known as IUPUI as they call it in Indiana. Not so IUPUI when they came here. Georgia State squeezed barely by 78-72 going into overtime.
Yeah.
Could have been a really bad loss, Nithin.
It could have been. Coming in, IUPUI was 2-4. Not a great record coming in against Georgia State. And for Georgia State to be down in this game against IUPUI in the closing minutes was about to be a very disastrous loss for Georgia State. But like you said, they found a way to squeak by, and they avoided some embarrassment there. So
they did, absolutely. Because remember, when it's time to get a bid for the NCAA tournament, they look at your best win and your worst loss. So this could have hurt them because we don't know what to expect from this team in the Sun Belt tournament because it's evident this team is not the same team as last year in the Sun Belt tournament. Definitely they're lacking some shooting. And also the perimeter defense. It looks like they have some concerns that they should probably acknowledge. I mean, they let IUPUI go 10 for 22 behind the line, the three-point line. They were 45%. Georgia State was 36%. Definitely some concerns there on the defensive side of the ball with perimeter defense, don't you think?
Yeah, because coming in, Jordan Pickett off the bench for IUPUI came in and dropped 16. And Daryl Combs, he dropped 13. So, and if you were there to watch the game, you would see threes raining left and right for IUPUI, which is a big concern for Georgia State. Narrowing on Kevin Ware, Hollowell, and the others to really they really have to lock down the perimeter against great teams. And for them to give up this many threes against IUPUI is a great concern. Yeah,
definitely, absolutely. I think on the defensive side of the ball, Coach Hunter is known for running the zone. He likes to run the 1-3-1 and transfer in the same set to a 2-3. So I think teams maybe are starting to figure that out. I mean, of course, Ron Hunter used to coach at IUPUI. So he said in the press conference that they knew all of the calls, all of the plays, so he had to change everything. So it was a whole entire different language for Georgia State, which may be true, but still, I think teams maybe are starting to figure out this 2-3 zone and are attacking it. So I don't know, maybe that's a case.
Yeah, and for you to bring that up, it really is concerning, like I said again, for IUPUI to uncover that against Georgia State. With them not being a very talented team, we have a lot of great teams coming our way in this schedule against Georgia State. So for IUPUI to figure out our scheme and kind of have a good percentage against us, it is a little bit worrying, but hopefully the next game they could really capitalize on this perimeter defense and lock it down.
Yeah, and another note, we're not getting much help. They're not getting much help from the bench. Only 13 points from the bench. Kevin Ware had 18. Jeremy Hollowell had 18. Kind of a off 18 for Jeremy, not as consistent as he kind of struggled a little bit, but not much help from the bench at all. And especially a team like this to not contribute, definitely some concerns, especially going late into the season.
This is where IUPUI stuck around in the game because, like I said earlier, Daryl Combs and Jordan Pickett were lighting it up off the bench. If you looked at the stats for IUPUI starting lineup, there wasn't much there. And for our bench, only main person that sticks out to me is Jeff Thomas. So it really is a concern. And with our bench not producing well, Kevin Ware had to play 41 minutes, which is a lot of time, a lot of wear and tear on him.
Early in the season.
For him to play 41 minutes against IUPUI is a big red flag.
Yeah, and even if you look at the point guard position for Georgia State, they don't really know who their point guard is yet. Ron Hunter wanted to give the keys in his language to Isaiah Dennis, not necessarily taking initiative in that role. He seems to be playing with a lack of confidence. He looks lost on offense and defense, and I think it's really hurting his game. Therefore, Isaiah Williams has stepped in as the point guard as of recent, and he's getting a little more comfortable. I would like to see a little bit more out of Isaiah, but no question, they wouldn't have won this game without Isaiah hitting those 2 free throws towards the end of the game
to let him go to overtime.
Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more from Isaiah, just being comfortable and more aggressive in the offense. But as of right now, I don't know if they really have a true point guard.
But let me ask you this: do you think Dennis isn't playing well just because he had that statement put on him as far as the keys go? Do you think that's affecting his game? maybe it's too much of a plateau that he was put on, and that's kind of leading to why he's struggling so much so far?
Well, I think first of all, let's recognize the type of player he is. He's not necessarily a shooter. He's more of an athletic guard who doesn't really have a specialty in do anything. I mean, the guy is a freak of nature. He can jump high and do all of those things, but to be a solidified point guard for this team, I don't think that's necessarily his forte. I don't think that's what he does well. Therefore, I think putting Isaiah Williams into the lineup, it gives them more opportunities and more versatility. Isaiah is a guy who can shoot the ball really well, mid-range and from deep. I think confidence and just a lack of awareness has kind of hurt him so far early in the season. He has to get comfortable. You know, he sat out a year coming from Sanford. But I think Isaiah is not necessarily a true point guard. And I think he's more of a role player for this team.
And you know what? He does have experience. He's been with the team for a while. So we can't be entirely alarmed. We can, have the confidence in him that he will, figure this out soon down the road.
Yeah. And you mentioned Jeff Thomas earlier, that he was a key guy for you. To me, it seems as if he's not fulfilling the role that that was expected from him coming out of high school. This guy was supposed to start last year on the team that we had. It's probably one of the best teams Georgia State's ever had. So far, he's not really... He's not playing up to that level or expectation, so maybe this is just who he is. Maybe he's a guy who may come off the bench, hit some threes for you. Coach Hunter has said he's not concerned yet. He hasn't knocked down a whole lot of wide open shots, so maybe that's just who he is, and maybe, but we have to see, because, that's what the season is played for. So I don't know.
I honestly hope you're wrong about Jeff Thomas.
I do too.
Because in this IUPUI game, he had 7 points off the bench. He led the bench in scoring. So for you to say, this is what he might be is alarming, but I hope, he can come in and drop at least 10 to 12 points and be like a safety blanket just in case one of our starters doesn't happen to perform that well one game. So
yeah. And another thing, Jordan Sessions, he only got 5 minutes of playing time in this game. I think it would be very important for them to get him more implemented into the game, because he's a big guy who stays in the paint, is very aggressive, and he's a guy who can shoot the mid-range to even the three-pointer. And I think that brings more versatility to this offense, as of course, they're not necessarily a big team this year. So I think getting him more minutes and more involved creates the ability to increase his confidence and his game, even for the whole spectrum of this team.
Put yourself in Coach Hunter's shoes for a second. He only had 5 minutes off the bench, least amount of minutes off the bench in this game. Why do you think that was the reason? Only 5 minutes.
Well, I don't know. Coach Hunter he's known to be a guy to only play 8 people, an 8-man rotation. Now, as to who he wants to put in that rotation, I'm not quite sure yet. I think he's still trying to figure that out. But I think Jordan Sessions is a guy who needs to be put and implemented into this offense, because, like I said, versatility is key for this team this year. They don't really have those 2 pro players like they had last year, R.J. Hunter and Ryan Harrow, and even Curtis Washington, if you want to throw that in there. But I mean, I think having Jordan Sessions in this offense, being a post player, being a prominent leader, possibly in the front court, can help them out tremendously.
So that means you would have to cut, TJ Shipes?
Yeah, but I think you can cut his minutes. You can cut TJ's minutes. He played 38 minutes in this game, and you didn't really get much for him. I mean, you have 9 points, 8 rebounds.
8 rebounds.
I mean, it's pretty decent,
solid.
But you need points to score. Obviously, this team was definitely too close. I mean, this game shouldn't have been this close. So I think having Jordan Sessions implemented more in the offense will help them and help Jordan as well, because I think with Jordan, it's a lack of confidence and him being, I guess, consistent.
Yeah. Going back to that, in-game reps will bring up your confidence, bring up your fluidity as far as a basketball player goes. So I do agree with that. And I guess Coach Hunter just is still experimenting. I hope he is, and trying to figure out what kind of rotation he wants to use down the road. And maybe hopefully he'll use Sessions just to bring a different dimension to this Georgia State basketball team.
Absolutely. Well, IUPUI almost got it done, but they didn't. 78-72 overtime. Georgia State wins. That's going to do it from here. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Primetime Sports Talk. I'm Jared Oliver, and this is Nithin Nair.